So here we want to look at why do we make art? And what the big question is, what is the power of art? And we're going to look at art from three different points of view. So we'll be zooming through time, but we have to take a trip. I want to travel back 1.2 million years. Here's an example from the Olduvinian Gorge, Tanzania, where our ancestors lived on the plains of Africa. Man has been using tools for about 60,000 years. But here's a tool, the Olduvinian hand axe. The tool was the ticket to early travel. It was the Swiss Army knife of the time. It could drill, strip, or cut. It looks straightforward, but it's really a complex tool. What it did was help us control and shape our environment. Maybe it was this tool that led to the development of art. One question was, when did man, woman, the toolmaker, become woman, man, the art maker? Why make art? What messages are artists communicating across time? It is the things humanity has made, these meticulous shaped sources of art, that I find most fascinating. Any history told through things relies on imaginative interpretation, and in it you will see the power that lies in art. Let's jump to Mexico. Everybody knows about the Aztecs and how great the Aztec Empire was. We hear much less about the people the Aztecs themselves had conquered to build their empire. One of the most interesting people subjugated by the Aztecs were the northern neighbors, the Huaztecs. We know the Huaztecs lived in northern Mexico's Gulf Coast, an area around modern Veracruz, and that between the 10th and 15th century they had a flourishing city culture. But around 1400, this prosperous world was overwhelmed by the aggressive Aztec state in the south, and the Huaztec ruling class was effectively liquidated. There's very little now that we know that will enable us to reconstruct the world and ideas of the Huaztecs. There is no trace of any writing, and all we have to go on is the Aztec account of the people they conquered as transmitted through the Spanish. So if we want the Huaztecs to speak to us directly, we have to go to the objects they left behind. These are the only documents, and among the most eloquent of them are a group of highly distinctive stone statues. The statue of a Huaztec woman is about 5 feet high, more or less life-size, but she's not lifelike at all. She looks as if she's been cut out of a gingerbread pastry cutter, but she does have two humanizing aspects: her small head and her gaze. She seems to be looking up at something, and her lips are open. We don't know much about the mother goddess, or even her name. We do know from the Aztecs she's the same being as their own mother goddess, Tlalochtotl. The goddess name comes from Tlalochtotl, which means filth in Nahuatl, the language of the Mexica Aztecs, and Tolte, the broad term for deity. She was a figure of fertility, vegetation, and renewal, the ultimate green goddess, transforming organic waste into healthy new life, guaranteeing the great cycle of natural regeneration. Is this woman the same? What more can the evidence of the statue tell us? What does her headdress mean? Why are her arms folded? Why is her mouth eyes wide open? Was it an image made for beauty? What purpose does it have? And why would it be standing on a pillar? We don't know much about the Huaztecs or why they created this artwork, but the power that it does leave us is with the power of imagination. Now let's jump to the 1900s and look at Frida Kahlo from 1907 to 1954, the most famous Mexican woman artist. Certain autobiographical elements of Kahlo's life: her physical handicap as a result of an accident when she was 18, her marriage with the world-famous muralist Diego Rivera, her husband's infidelity, Kahlo's affairs, both with men and women, and her unhappiness in not being able to bear a child, provoked psychological discussions of her work. Despite the candidness of her work, Kahlo always maintained an image of poise, strength, and even defiance. Here, in Frida Kahlo's self-portrait with Monkey, we can see her influence by art forms indigenous to her country with the use of pre-Columbian imagery and concepts. Think here the mother goddess of Taztotep. Is this self-portrait and repeated in others to come? Frida uses a claustrophobic background of tight curtains of leaves which are spindly and hairy, which pushes the image outward towards the viewer. What does this say about the idea of woman and her role in society? How does Frida express who she is through the images of herself? By representing something, by making a picture or a sculpture of it, you give it life. By a kind of magical power, you assert your relations to it in a world that you are not just experiencing, but you imagine.